Matthew had spent his whole life in his hometown, where he had a job and sufficient money. That's why he never considered moving to the city with its pollution and different kind of people. In the village, on the other hand, he could rely on neighbors, enjoy fresh and clean air, have his own big, sturdy, and warm house, various animals, a river with transparent water just a couple of kilometers away, and everything else. In short, Matthew invested all his efforts into developing his own farm so that his children would have something to inherit, and they would be the ones to decide whether they wanted to move or not. Matthew had a wife named Maria who supported him in every way and believed he made the right decision not to go anywhere. Maria also saw numerous advantages in rural life, even though it might be harder than in the city. However, progress didn't stand still, and thanks to her responsible husband, their home was equipped with all conveniences. So, in terms of living standards, rural residents were on par with urban dwellers. When the time came to think about continuing their family line, Maria had long cherished dreams of taking care of children. She loved kids and always dreamed of having a large family. However, when it was time to give birth, something went wrong, and the young mother couldn't be saved. The doctors tried to explain to devastated Matthew, but he didn't pay much attention, consumed by shock. He didn't blame anyone, as he was a religious man, and believed that if God needed Maria, then it was meant to be. Thus, Matthew was left alone with the infant in his arms. To say it was difficult for him would be an understatement. Kate's tranquility quickly came to an end, and before he knew it, the baby was crying every half hour. The pediatrician was the only one in the whole village and tried to help Matthew, explaining what to do, how to swaddle, when to feed, and all the other rules of childcare. But Matthew also had to work and maintain the household, which he struggled with. He became utterly exhausted. If the baby peacefully lay in the cradle all day, it meant Matthew didn't attend to anything else, although there were plenty of tasks. If he tried to focus on work, within half an hour, Kate's crying would distract him, and he would hastily run to his daughter. After a couple of months, Matthew was completely worn out and decided that he needed to get married again. He had a large yard by village standards where he lived. Matthew pictured himself as an enviable groom and knew that many girls had noticed him. It was time to take action, or else he could lose both his farm and, God forbid, his daughter Anna. "Good morning, Matthew," he smiled, looking at the beautiful girl who was hardworking and loved spending time with the neighboring children whenever someone asked her to. "Hi," the girl smiled as well. "Are you going to work today?" "I should," Matthew nodded. "I just don't know who I can leave Kate with. Can you give me some advice?" "I can help. You can leave her with me." "Right here." Anna nodded in agreement. "Just tell me where things are and what needs to be done. I'll assist you." Matthew beamed with a smile. "Thank you so much." Matthew showed Anna everything, including the pediatrician's recommendations, which she promised to follow strictly. And then, for the first time in a long while, he peacefully went to work alone. Time went by, and it seemed that Anna and Kate got along well. Moreover, the little girl started to recognize her as her mother. Matthew thanked Anna for her help and tried to do something for her in return, like taking her to one of the 3 cafes, giving her a bouquet of flowers, or something else. One day, he realized that he had fallen in love with her. And yes, she looked at him with great interest. A little later, Anna and Matthew sat together on a carved bench under the canopy, enjoying a peaceful evening with a glass of homemade wine that Matthew made himself. "It's a lovely evening, warm and calm," Anna sighed contentedly. "Kate is probably already asleep, having sweet dreams. I feel so good here that I don't even want to go home. So maybe you don't have to," Matthew asked, seizing the opportune moment to confess his feelings. "Well, why not?" Anna smirked. "What will people say about me? They won't say anything if we get married." Matthew shrugged. Anna gasped and squinted, carefully examining Matthew. What? Are you thinking of a one-night stand? The girl chuckled. No. Why are you widening your eyes, Matthew? Honestly, I've liked you for a long time, even more than that. I love you, and I want you to stay in this house forever, as my husband, of course. Anna paused, rolling the wine glass in her hands. Matthew thought that his feelings were mutual. Therefore, such a delay was incomprehensible to him. He began to get nervous slowly. You made me anxious, Anna laughed, and Matthew let out a sigh of relief. Of course, I agree. Great, the man smiled and leaned in to kiss his bride. But the girl deftly evaded, getting up from the bench. Just for the night. I'll still be at home until the wedding, she slyly squinted. I'll come at 9 a.m. tomorrow to play with Kate. All right. Matthew shrugged and smiled. We'll be waiting for you. Life seemed to be slowly falling into place. Matthew and Anna got married, and Anna moved home to her husband with the girl. Their relationship seemed to be going wonderfully. But as little Kate grew up and started speaking, the first problems arose. One day, Matthew returned home and found Anna teaching Kate to call her Mom. Anna, what are you even talking about? Matthew stared at his wife in surprise. What do you mean? What? What kind of tone is that? Anna responded dissatisfied. I'm teaching Kate to talk, just as I intended. What's the problem? The problem is that you're not her mother, Matthew sternly replied, frowning as he picked up Kate. Shocked, Anna reached out instinctively towards the child, but Matthew turned away and carried Kate to her bed. Don't even think about coming up with such nonsense in the future, the man snapped angrily. Kate will always know that her mother lives in heaven and watches over her through a window in the clouds. And what about me? Anna regained her composure. What will she consider me? A stepmother. Who else? Matthew replied rudely, laying the beginning-to-sob daughter down to sleep. So, you want me to teach her the word stepmother? Tears welled up in Anna's eyes from such unfairness. You can teach her the word daddy. Matthew shrugged indifferently. By the way, stop calling her your daughter. She's your stepdaughter. The woman couldn't find a response to that. Why did he marry her? Wasn't it to build a family? Then why was he possessively referring to Kate in such a manner? This entire situation, and specifically Matthew's prohibition on acknowledging Anna as Kate's mother, deeply affected her emotionally. She now sat with the girl with less enthusiasm while Matthew was occupied. She grew distant from her husband. What did he expect as Kate grew older? Anna would have told her herself that she wasn't her biological mother. But why complicate everything now? Anna couldn't understand that. Now she was forbidden to call Kate her daughter. So the maternal feelings that once welled up within her upon seeing the girl began to fade. Anna tried to fight it as best she could, but the daily reminders that Kate wasn't her biological child took their toll. Eventually, joy and pleasant emotions vanished from Anna's life, and she almost began to despise the girl. Meanwhile, Matthew believed he had done everything wisely. There was no need to teach Kate from birth to call her stepmother incorrectly. It would only make it harder for her to discover the truth, and how could they live without the truth? A couple of years later, Matthew realized that he was handling things well. He could build an extension to the house if materials and resources allowed. That's when a thought crossed his mind. Why not have another child? He began to notice Anna's coldness, but he remembered what she used to be like. Perhaps having her own child would bring back the taste for life. Anna, don't you think it's time for us to expand our family? Matthew asked directly during dinner. Anna was taken aback and even choked on her food. Why? You already have a daughter, she responded dissatisfied. Yes, but you don't. Matthew smiled foolishly and once again reminded Anna, who already didn't love Kate very much, that she wasn't her daughter. Anna pondered. From the very beginning of her relationship with Matthew, she had become more of a friend to Kate than to the man himself. Now he openly irritated her. His simple-minded nature could drive her to fits of rage. Kate also suffered. She wasn't her biological child. Yet, she behaved like the mistress of the house, and rightfully so, because the house would be hers only if Anna didn't take action. The woman's thinking was changing before everyone's eyes. She transformed from a kind and compassionate girl into a mercenary and spiteful person. Indeed, why not have a child together? That way, she would solidify her position at home, and her own blood would have a place to live. Matthew wouldn't dare to throw them out alone. After all, he wasn't the worst man in the village. At least he didn't drink and more or less listen to advice. And Grandma had once advised Anna to look for something like this and think it over. Finally, Anna replied, "Yes, you're right. Where would I be without your reminders? I would have forgotten again and called Kate my daughter. I need to consider someone my own child. Why not have a son or daughter if we have the time and energy? I think it's an excellent decision." "You're right," Matthew replied with a hint of sarcasm that he couldn't resist. He either didn't hear it or didn't pay attention. "Great," he smiled. When Kate's younger sister arrived, the older sister was almost 5 years old. The girl was active and loved playing outside. Anna couldn't stand it anymore. Now she had her own daughter, and she had no desire to take care of Kate. "Kate," Anna snapped angrily when Kate asked to play with her. "Go to the backyard. You'll wake up Olivia with your screaming. Go, come on. Play with the sand, just don't scatter it from the sandbox." "I want to play with Olivia," Kate said, trying to squeeze past. She at least wanted to sneak a glimpse of her sister. If she couldn't play with her, as if that wasn't enough, "You'll definitely drop her." "I don't need that at all. Wait until she grows up, then maybe you can play. That's it, go away." Anna waved her hand. Matthew had no time for domestic conflicts, so he knew nothing about the escalating conflict between his wife and his daughter from his previous marriage. Kate whimpered but obediently followed her stepmother's instructions, and that was enough for the man to believe he had a happy family. One day, exhausted from endless childcare and household duties, Anna put her daughter down for a nap and lay down herself to rest. Unbeknownst to her, she dozed off, and when Kate entered the bedroom, she realized that her stepmother was asleep, and the request for cookies arose spontaneously. Impatient, Kate wanted to spend some time with her sister. Anna guarded her daughter from her stepdaughter so fiercely that Kate's curiosity reached its limit. What could be so valuable about Olivia if Anna protected her like that? Kate quietly sneaked up to the cradle and looked at her sister. The baby was just like any other neighbor's baby, the same as for playing. Olivia was indeed too young, and Kate would have to wait a little longer. The older sister adjusted the blanket slightly so the little one wouldn't get cold and gently rocked the toys hanging above the cradle. Suddenly, a firm hand grabbed Kate's shoulder and swiftly turned her around in front of the little girl. Furious Anna stood there. Kate yelped in pain and surprise. "What are you doing?" Anna hissed through her teeth. "Oh, nothing. I just wanted to look," Kate replied, but tears welled up in her eyes. "What were your filthy little hands doing in Olivia's cradle?" Anna's eyes seemed to fill with blood, and the veins in her neck bulged. Her entire appearance resembled an enraged bull, and Kate became very scared. "Nothing. I just adjusted the blanket. I was leaving," Kate said. Anna pushed the girl away from the cradle, and she stumbled a few meters, trying to stay on her feet after the shove from her stepmother, but eventually fell to the floor, swallowing tears of pain and hurt. She got up and looked at the stepmother, who was wailing over the cradle. "Olivia, my girl, my little daughter, this wretch wanted to harm you, but I won't allow it. I won't let anyone hurt you, my precious." I didn't mean to," she managed to shout. Upon hearing her scream, Olivia frowned disapprovingly and opened her eyes. "There you go, Anna," Kate cursed, turning towards her. "You're still here? Now you've woken up my child. Are you satisfied now? Leave, I'll teach you how to behave." Kate dashed out of the house in horror and hid in the large garden. Fortunately, Anna had other concerns with her awakened daughter, so she didn't pursue Kate. The girl didn't dare go back home to her wicked stepmother for the rest of the day, only entering when Matthew opened the gate. Kate ran to her father with relief. He should protect her from the stepmother. Sniffling, she immediately clung to her father's clothes. "Kate, what's wrong?" Matthew asked with concern. "What happened?" "Mrs. Anna got angry at me," the girl replied. "I'm scared." "What did you do?" Matthew asked, puzzled. "Nothing. I just wanted to look at Olivia, and Mrs. Anna got angry," Kate said, her voice choked with tears. "Oh, finally." Anna's voice came from the porch. "Maybe you can explain to your daughter that you can't nearly kill her sister first and then hide from me all day." "Kill?" "Matthew, she's gone into shock." "Of course, kill. You wretch." Kate suffocated Olivia with a blanket. The baby couldn't breathe, she shouted. Matthew turned his gaze from the silent question to the sobbing Kate. "You're lying. You're lying. You're lying," Kate screamed. "I just adjusted it." "Ah, you little pig." Anna gnashed her teeth in anger. "That's enough," Matthew decisively declared. "I'm sure if Kate went too far with the blanket, it wasn't intentional. Anna, you could have taught her how to handle her younger sister. And you, Kate, from now on, don't touch Olivia without Anna's permission, understood?" Kate sobbed. Anna fell silent, only giving an angry look to Matthew, and then they both had dinner in silence. After eating, Kate asked to sleep somewhere near her father, but her request was denied. The girl with sad eyes went to brush her teeth and sleep. "Well, isn't that a reward from God?" Anna muttered under her breath. "You're exaggerating. Kate is just hyperactive." She got curious. "After all, Olivia is just a stepsister," Anna emphasized with a malicious tone. "Well, yes. Listen, does Kate happen to have any grandparents from your late wife?" Anna asked. "Yes, they're still alive, but they're very far away," Matthew shrugged. "And why are you suddenly interested in Kate's biological family?" "Well, I was thinking about inheritance. I understand it's premature, but anything can happen in life," Anna replied. "And what about the inheritance? We'll leave the house and the estate to the children. They can sell it if they want, or not. They'll live here. And how will they live here alone together? And if they get married, neither of them will be lucky," Matthew chuckled. "Yes, they'll share somehow. After all, they're stepsisters," the woman couldn't help but remind. For several months, the woman had been thinking about this conversation. Kate had no place in Olivia's future plans. How to remove the girl from the path of a good dowry? Kate's grandparents were unlikely to be thrilled about her sudden move. The fact that Kate had never been to them spoke for itself. One unpleasant thought kept spinning in Anna's head, but she found it difficult to make such a decision. However, Kate's incident with Olivia didn't fit into the woman's reasoning. She's still little. Maybe she just didn't adjust the blanket properly, she thought. But what would happen next? She would start hitting, taking away, claiming the best for herself, because the older ones are always stronger. Anna imagined with horror the imaginary misfortunes that would rain down on her daughter, as if from a horn of plenty. No, there's nothing good for Kate. It's not in store for Olivia, that's for sure. So, I have to make up my mind. "Matthew, I'm going to the forest for mushrooms," Anna told her husband one day. "I changed and fed Olivia. She's sleeping. Can you watch over her for a couple of hours while I'm in the woods?" "Yes, of course," Matthew nodded. "Yes, she's already old enough to live a few hours without her mom." "Yes, time flies quickly," Anna smiled. "I was thinking of taking Kate with me. What do you think?" No, on the contrary, Matthew was delighted. Lately, the relationship between Kate and Anna had been gradually warming up, and perhaps a walk in the woods would only strengthen it. That's wonderful. Well, then we'll be back by evening, Anna said with the same smile and went to find Kate, who had just crossed the threshold of 6 years old. Kate, I'm going to the forest for mushrooms. Do you want to come with me? Yes, I want to. Kate immediately detached herself from her dolls. Can I? Of course you can. I'm inviting you. Well, get ready. Let's go. The woman and the girl said goodbye to Matthew and headed into the woods. It wasn't very far from the village, but not too close either. The forest was full of mushrooms, and autumn was particularly generous. Kate didn't know which mushrooms were edible, so everything was interesting to her. Anna explained which ones they could pick and which ones they couldn't, making it easier for the girl to remember. The woman set aside a few mushrooms from her basket and showed them to the girl. Look here, she pointed to the stem. These are the ones you can pick. They're delicious. If something is different, like if the mushroom is slimy with gills like this, and it has a skirt-like thing on the stem, these are not to be picked. Those are poisonous mushrooms. I understand everything. The girl listened attentively and remembered everything. Then take my mushrooms as an example and look for similar ones, Anna said with a smile. Okay. Kate became very engrossed in the process. She saw some mushrooms literally under every little bump, and she enjoyed comparing them to the ones Anna had given her so much that she didn't even notice how she was getting further and deeper into the forest. Anna sat on a stump at the forest's edge. Her hands trembled, tears fell from her eyes in large drops. Did she really do this? Could she really leave a 6-year-old girl alone in the woods? Anna turned towards the forest, hoping that Kate would respond now. If she did, Anna would rush back, forgive her for everything, and forget about it all. Oh God, she's just a child. How could she see Kate as an obstacle for her own daughter? The woman took a deep breath and shouted at the top of her lungs, Kate. Even some birds fluttered away. Anna fell silent, listening for a response, but she heard nothing except the echoing cry of her own despair and hopelessness. Then the woman was completely shaken. She clasped her knees and wept aloud for several minutes. What a fool she was. How could she treat the poor little girl like that? But now it was too late to turn back. Kate was gone, and somewhere she must be weak and freezing, calling out to Anna, asking for help, unaware that Anna had done it intentionally. The woman made her way back to the village. It was already getting dark, and she struggled to find her way. The tears didn't help either. Matthew was anxiously waiting at the gate with Olivia in his arms. Seeing them, Anna couldn't stand on her feet and collapsed to her knees, sobbing aloud. What happened? Where is Kate? Matthew rushed forward. I lost her, Anna sobbed. I lost sight of her for a second and couldn't find her. Oh my God, Matthew whispered, but he quickly regained his composure. Where did it happen? At the entrance to the forest or deeper inside? I don't know what to do, Matthew, the woman wailed, wringing her hands. Stay with the child, Matthew shouted, leaving Olivia with her mother. And he rushed to the neighbors to seek help. Of course, all the neighbors reacted to the news of the missing child. They grabbed flashlights, some took guns to scare away wolves if necessary, and then they quickly headed into the forest. Those who could took their cars. They parked at the entrance to the forest and honked their horns for a long time, shouting the girl's name. The men left a couple of guards to honk the horn every few minutes. The rest headed into the forest, shining flashlights on the ground and trying to shout for Kate. They called until the early morning, but there was no response. Matthew, everyone is exhausted. One of the neighbors approached the grieving father. Do you think the child could survive a cold night in the woods? She was dressed warmly. I can't believe it. I just can't, muttered Matthew. We'll rest for a bit, then search again, nodded the neighbor, who understood well that Matthew was not ready to accept the loss. You should rest too, or you might get lost yourself. Oh God, Matthew. He whispered a prayer. The man took his friend by the shoulder and slowly led him to the car. The whole procession returned to the village empty-handed. The women waiting on the outskirts understood everything from the expressions on the men's faces. Some quietly wept, others crossed themselves. Matthew was not himself. He couldn't believe that his beloved daughter had now joined his beloved wife in heaven. He entered the house and simply collapsed on the kitchen couch, paying no attention to anything. He immediately fell into a deep sleep, driven by profound shock. His awakening was not pleasant. Someone was shouting directly into his ear and shaking his shoulders. Matthew struggled to open his eyes and stared at one of his neighbors. "She's been found," the neighbor shouted joyfully. "She's been found, she's been found." At first, Matthew didn't understand anything, but after a second, it became clear. Kate. Yes, Kate. She came back on her own. Matthew pushed the neighbor away. "Where is she? Is she at our house? Is my wife warming her up in the bath?" "You haven't heated it up," the neighbor replied with a smile. Matthew could hardly wait for the girl to come out of the bath. He couldn't just barge in himself. As soon as Kate saw her dad, she joyfully reached out her scratched little hands towards him. Matthew couldn't hold back his tears as he hugged and kissed his precious daughter. "Are you alive? Are you alive? How did you manage to get out?" Matthew asked, somewhat relieved. "I heard voices somewhere too," Kate whispered hoarsely in response, "but no one heard me." Matthew's heart ached with sympathy, his voice breaking. Poor thing. And then she went in the direction where the voices were coming from, and somehow came out herself. The trees became less dense, and I saw a path. Thank God. My little girl is alive. Matthew hugged his daughter again. "How did it happen that you got lost?" "It wasn't me who got lost," Kate replied seriously. "Mrs. Anna lost me." Matthew didn't understand at first. "But she was calling you and searching, right?" Kate nodded once. "What?" Matthew turned pale, then flushed, shaking uncontrollably. He realized that Anna had planned to get rid of Kate in the most dreadful way. "All right, sweetheart. I need to talk to Aunt Anna. You stay here, okay? Look, Aunt Svetlana baked some pastries for you. Have some with your tea, and I'll be back for you soon." Okay, just don't bother Anna," Matthew frowned. No, I'll just talk," Matthew nodded on his way home. He was only thinking about avoiding the guilt on his conscience. Bursting into the house, Matthew called Anna loudly and started searching for her in the rooms himself, not waiting for her to appear. But with each passing minute, it became clearer and clearer that Anna wasn't home. Matthew spun around in place, continuously cursing out of anger when he finally noticed a folded sheet of paper on the table. He grabbed it and unfolded it. "Matthew, forgive me. I can't live with such guilt. I pray for you to find Kate at home. I left her there alone. Forgive me, I can't explain what came over me. And it's not the right situation to explain. I have left our village. Olivia will stay with me. Don't look for us. Forgive me if you can. Anna." That was the entire simple note. Matthew slumped heavily onto a chair and fell silent. There were no thoughts in his head. Most likely, Anna had gone to distant relatives, where she would find refuge. Matthew pondered for a moment and decided that it was for the best that she left on her own. It was a shame that she took Olivia with her, of course, but Matthew already had a daughter, his own beloved child. Dear listener, if you enjoyed the story, please leave your comment, and subscribe to our channel.